Hola, amigos and amigas. Yes, welcome to another edition of From the Bleachers Sports Show. This is me, your buddy, old pal, Tom, your compadre, your amigo. And we're doing a little NWA Powerrr Thoughts, episode 9. And I believe that episode was called One More Time. As I was actually viewing NWA Powerrr from their official YouTube page at roughly 8 something in the morning on my commute to work. At that point they had 61,000 views. Right now, if I check up the old trusty YouTube page, they have 85,000 views. So just to give you a little perspective. One More Time. One More Time was the name of the episode, and just want to give you some of my basic thoughts here and there about this episode. This is not a full recap, just a couple of thoughts that I wanted to say, things that come to mind. This was the end of, if I'm not mistaken, end of season 1, based on this episode, what we learned. This is before, rather season 1. This is now before. This was, in essence, the Go Home show, at least the official Powerrr show, the Go Home show before the pay-per-view comes up. And I believe they're going to be airing some other types of, series specials in between now and the pay-per-view. I'll tell you one thing how I feel. I feel that a lot of the matches that they have for this pay-per-view make sense. You kind of understand why they are fighting. And if you didn't understand why they're fighting for the pay-per-view, it was kind of brought together in this episode. Give you an example. I was wondering to myself, okay, being that this is supposed to be a different promotion, everyone is saying that they're different from each other, but sometimes they all feel like they're the same. I was thinking to myself, why is James Storm getting a title shot against Nick Aldis when he just recently lost his title to Colt Cabana? He lost. He hasn't been on some winning streak. He just lost. He should be in the back of the line. Well, it was explained why James Storm got his title shot, because he basically whined and complained to the powers that be. Complained, bitch and moaned, so on and so forth, and they gave in. Okay, and now, all this said, oh, you know what? I want him to fight me. That way, I could shut him up once and for all. So they kind of, it was put together and made, they explain why he's getting a title shots. It's not where you'll be left in the dark, and sometimes with certain pay-per-view matches in WWE or NXT or these other promotions, you kind of wonder, well, why are they having the match exactly? What is the story? So I get it, I understand it now. And again, there is like another added twist to it. It's like a 2 out of 3 match, 2 out of 3 falls, with the stipulation being that each wrestler gets to pick their referee. They want to referee in 1 fall each, and then if there is a tie for the 3rd fall, it will be a flip of the coin to determine who will be the referee. So James Storm picked a senior referee. He is a referee, and Nick Aldis picked Tim Storm, who's technically not a referee. He's a wrestler. He's on the roster as a wrestler. He's listed as a wrestler. He hasn't gone to quote-unquote referee school. How is he allowed to be a referee in this match? Does he know how to referee? Are we supposed to believe that he knows how to referee? Why is he the referee? Certain instances like this, right? When these kind of things come up, and I said this a few episodes ago, I think this is why the NWA would flourish with having kind of like a on-screen commissioner to explain these certain things. Okay, why is Tim Storm allowed to be a referee when he's not really a referee? The cause is that you have to choose a referee, right? Am I not mistaken? Was that not the verbiage? It has to be a referee. So I'm looking forward to that match. It's very intriguing. All this is saying also that he gave Camille the night off. Interesting to see what happens with Camille. Interesting to see how Tim Storm plays into this. It's just, again, and this is part of the beauty of NWA for me. Some instances, like this whole scenario right here, I'm not able to decipher who is a face and a heel. It's like scratch, like, you know, make you scratch my head. So, you know, and I'll do an NWA pay-per-view kind of thoughts, predictions later on, probably next week. Again, with this pay-per-view, if you want NWA to succeed, to go forward, you gotta buy that pay-per-view, because I think a lot of people, and I hope I'm wrong, a lot of these people are like nostalgia fans, or NWA fans, that, you know, we're out of wrestling for so many years, so long. Older demographic, which is fine, but an older demographic, will they spend the money on a pay-per-view? Older demographic, you know, you got a mortgage, you got, you know, college to worry about now for your kids, other bills and expenses. I just wonder if this demographic will spend money for the pay-per-view. I didn't like kind of how, again, because, you know, it's like wrestling is supposed to matter, wins and losses are supposed to matter. With the NWA, everything is determined in the ring. So again, Aaron Stevens, this whole thing is he wanted a title shot against Colt Cabana, but Aaron Stevens has basically lost everything that he's been in. He, you know, tomfoolery against Ricky Starks comes away. Aaron Stevens with the victory. Stevens faked an injury and played possum, and he was able to get the best of Ricky Starks. So, you know, because of that, Colt Cabana, you know, before that match started, says, okay, if you beat Ricky Starks, you will get your shot. But okay, he has one win, and now he's thrown into what we now know as the pay-per-view in a three-way dance: Starks, Stevens, Colt Cabana. So now, but how is this fair to Ricky Starks? He had a one-on-one, so he could technically lose and not be pinned. How, you know, how is that fair to Starks for winning all these matches, and Aaron Stevens won after a basically you know, fuckery match? He's now in a title shot. So things like that I don't like, and I get it. Certain things, it's like, okay, enough with the complaining. Just watch it, enjoy it for what it is. But I don't like that, because it just, when things are settled in the ring, well, they're really not settled in the ring. They're really settled by what you could say on the microphone to get your opponent ticked off before they finally cave in because they're so frustrated, right? You know, I didn't, and I said this the episode before, I didn't like the Rock and Roll Express, where this was heading, and I kind of get it why it happened, because you want that to be kind of like one of the bigger storylines going into that pay-per-view, especially towards that demographic. Rock and Roll Express, once again, tag champs for the 9th time. How they beat Wildcard is believable to me. It doesn't hurt Wildcard in the sense of basically it was a roll-up, kind of a fluke victory, so to speak. It's not like they out-wrestled them, out-muscled them, pull, you know, a roll-up fluke victory, okay? I get it, so it protects the Wildcard. But still, how did they get a tag team shot? Why ain't, you know, Dawson's LAX, why aren't they getting a tag team shot? Not LAX, rather. Homicide and Ortiz. I'm sorry, I'm thinking, you know, Homicide and Ortiz. Kingston and Homicide. Okay, why aren't they getting a tag shot? Why is the Rock and Roll Express, why did they get a tag shot and they, you know, and then they won? So for what the NWA is supposed to stand for, that I don't get, which is why sometimes, again, gonna go back to it, I think they would benefit by having an on-screen commissioner, right? So I didn't get it, I didn't like it, but again, I understand it. It's going into a pay-per-view. Okay. You know, suspension of disbelief here. Melina, can you wear at least a different outfit? As she's being interviewed again by Mr. Marquez. Just suspension of disbelief. Can we pretend that not everything is taped within 2 or 3 days? Can you wear at least a different outfit? Just suspension of disbelief, please. I don't know. Me nitpicking. But, you know, it just, you know, my thoughts there. Question mark and his karate. I love it. Who is not a big question mark fan? Because I am certainly a question mark fan. Stu Bennett has been announced as being the new commentator for the broadcast team of NWA, and I like it. It's different. I think he could kind of channel the kind of like the old school with the new school type of, you know, I think he could channel it. I think he can make it work. You know, from what I understand, he's done commentary before. He's actually done commentary in NXT. So he won't get lost on the microphone. I think he'll be a new to a lot of that demographic there. And it will take some getting used to. But I think it could work. I think that's the type of voice that you need. He would not have been my first choice. But I think this makes sense too. He's a familiar voice, familiar face for some of the newer wrestling fans. I don't know how many Bad News Barrett fans they were, how much audience he could pull to watch NWA, but I think he is that gap which you need for some of the new school and the old school in that you know, play-by-play, you know, in the commentary and analyst role, whatever it may be. So, you know, just some of my thoughts there from NWA Powerrr. I hope all is well, and you know, keep watching NWA, keep supporting, and talk to you guys very, very soon.